We'll now look at some additional examples involving statements and logical connectives. Our first example says that P is the house is for sale, and Q is we can afford to buy the house. In words, it's asking me to translate three statements. Now, one thing that we want to keep in mind as we start working on this is that this symbol that looks like a V is read as OR. This symbol, which looks like the caret key, is read as AND. And the tilde, remember, is read as NOT. So let's begin with part A. Part A says P and not Q. So let's write this in terms of P and Q. So we have P, which is the house is for sale. In the middle, we have the symbol for and then we have the negation of Q, not Q. So Q says that we can afford to buy the house. The negation would be that we cannot afford to buy the house. And so the answer to part A is the house is for sale and we cannot afford to buy the house. For part B, we have not P, we have the symbol for OR, and then we have not Q. So not P. P is the house is for sale. The negation would be the house is not for sale. We have the symbol for OR, and then we need the negation of Q. And again, Q is that we can afford to buy the house. The negation would be that we cannot afford to buy the house. And so the answer to part B would be the house is not for sale or we cannot afford to buy the house. Part C, we have the not symbol, and then in parentheses, we have P and Q. The not symbol tells us that the statement is false, and so we begin with that. It is false that and then in the parentheses, P and Q. So P is that the house is for sale. We have the symbol for and then Q, which is we can afford to buy the house. And so the correct answer for part C is that it is false, that the house is for sale, and we can afford to buy the house. For our next example, we have a P, a Q, and an R. The problem says P is dinner includes soup, Q is dinner includes salad, and R is dinner includes a vegetable. And we want to write the following statements in symbolic form. Part A says dinner includes soup and a salad or a vegetable. So dinner includes soup is P. This and, remember the symbol for and, looks like the caret symbol. So we know for sure that dinner includes soup, and then we have a choice. We can either choose salad or a vegetable. So I'm going to put my choice in a set of parentheses. Salad would be Q. We use the symbol for OR, which is a V, and then a vegetable would be R. And we'll close the parenthesis. So our answer is P, the symbol for and in parentheses, Q, the symbol for OR, and then R, closing the parenthesis. Again, the soup is the definite and the choice is in parentheses. Part B says dinner includes soup and salad or a vegetable. All right, so let's begin with this first part where it says dinner includes soup and salad. So that's one option. So we are going to say soup is P. We're going to put the symbol for and in the middle, which is like the caret symbol. And then we're going to do salad, which is Q. Right? And then we have a choice between this, and this is one entire choice because we can choose soup and salad, or we'll use the symbol for or, we can choose a vegetable. And so our answer would look like, in parentheses, P and Q, or R. All right, let's look at a final example. Again, we have three letters, P, Q, and R. P is that Josh is enrolled in calculus. Q is that Josh's major is criminal justice. And R is that Josh's major is engineering. In words, we want to write down or we want to translate what these symbols stand for. In parentheses, we have Q, and then we have an arrow. We have the negation of P, close the parentheses. Then we have the symbol for or, and then we have R. So we know that the arrow implies an if-then statement. So if Q. So if Josh's major is criminal justice, all right, so that takes care of the arrow and the Q. This is arrow Q is if Josh's major is criminal justice, then, and we need the negation of P. So P is Josh is enrolled in calculus. The negation would be Josh is not enrolled in calculus. Okay, and then we have an or. And R is his major is engineering. And note the placement of the comma because it's important. Our answer is, if Josh's major is criminal justice, then Josh is not enrolled in calculus. And actually, I am going to, we don't necessarily need the comma right here. I'm going to take that one off just because it's a little confusing that way. All right, so if Josh's major is criminal justice, then Josh is not enrolled in calculus. That takes care of the parenthesis. At the end of the parenthesis, note that we put a comma. Or Josh's major is engineering. Okay, and you can use the parenthesis as an indication of where to place your comma in the sentence. And you also might want to note that this statement is a disjunction because of the V, the or, being outside the parentheses. Let's move on to part B. Again, we see the arrow, which is an if-then statement. So we have the arrow next to the Q. So we're going to go ahead and write down if Josh's major is criminal justice. And I'm going to put a comma there because remember that the parenthesis separates the two parts. And so you'll use a comma in between where you have the parenthesis and where you don't. So if Josh's major is criminal justice, then, and we move inside the parenthesis. Okay, we have not P. So P is that he is enrolled in calculus. So we now know that Josh is not enrolled in calculus. Sorry about that. Okay. Calculus. All right, so Josh is not enrolled in calculus. We have the symbol for or, and then we have R. So R is Josh's major is engineering. So our final answer is, if Josh's major is criminal justice, then Josh is not enrolled in calculus, or Josh's major is engineering. And this statement is a conditional because of the arrow and the arrow's placement outside of the parenthesis.